And as we're talking about transgender roles, what are the societal attitude towards these transgender athletes in Pakistan, and how do all of these things impact their participation in the sports?
So, as you can see, I am holding a copy of New York Times. There was a report published today in the New York Times that in Tibet, in Tibet, Nepal, and all these
Or
areas,
neighboring
yeah,
countries
yeah,
of
all the
Pakistan.
neighboring countries, there are Dalai Lamas.
If Ranbir, before we close this video, as we are going towards the conclusion, what policies or grassroots initiative can be introduced by the government to promote the participation of transgender individuals in Pakistan, basically at the school, college, even at the university level? What are the steps which need to be taken? What are the things which needs to be
So,
done?
I would give you a very small and a rare example. Anything that is implemented in European Union, firstly, is implemented in three countries.
But Farmer, do you think that this issue has basically solved in other countries as well, or this is only a Pakistan-based issue? Because I don't think so. It has been fully recovered in even the top nations of the world, like USA or even UK. How do you see over there?
I believe it is at only the inauguratory stage, let alone being solved in its essence.
So there are lots of discussions happening in sport, and Irfan Bhai today is with us in another session. How are you, Irfan Bhai?
I'm fine, thank you so much, Ajay.
And Irfan Bhai, today we will talk about the transgender issues in sports in Pakistan, and what were the main things you wanted to discuss with our followers mainly.
First of all, we initiate the discussion because transgender in athleticism or in athletic fields have always been marginalized. देखिए, it has been quite some time in the historical precedent that we have not talked about transgender inclusion at all. It has either been males or females. Females themselves have not been included in the conversation of sports, but it was only recently that they have been incorporated in the discussion. So I believe that if the discussion has been initiated, it means that the moral accommodation of society for transgenders in sports is going to gain some probability, although it might not achieve the desired results as inclusion of women in sports it was not able to and still is not able to achieve the desired equality. Transgender rights in sports is something of a nascent dream that would take some years or might decades in order to achieve the fulfillment that we desire in athletic equality.
And as we're talking about transgender roles, what are the societal attitude towards these transgender athletes in Pakistan, and how do all of these things impact their participation in the sports?
So, as you can see, I am holding a copy of New York Times. There was a report published today in the New York Times that in Tibet, in Tibet, Nepal, and all these
Or
areas,
neighboring
yeah,
countries
yeah,
of
all
Pakistan?
neighboring countries, there are Dalai Lamas who are the political and spiritual leaders. Now, there was a tradition that Dalai Lama would only be selected from the males, and secondly, he would always be selected after the first one is gone, is deceased, and then another would come in the form of a baby. But they say that because of some concerns, now even the woman or the female Dalai Lama can also be selected. Now there were only 14 Dalai Lama in the history, but yet you can see that right now no one was a female, but now they have allowed the tradition. I believe that society changes with the passage of time. So something that was anachronistic means something that does not belong to the modern times. For instance, if I say that I want to wear leaves instead of clothes, it is anachronism. I believe transgender rights in sports is something of an anachronistic phenomenon right now in the contemporary society. But with the passage of time, society would morally accommodate these traditions, and we are quite insensitive towards their presence. And as the society proceeds, as the morality evolves, because we see the Pope Francis in his time allowed same-sex marriages. This was something that was a stark conflict from the church's traditions, but with the passage of time, it allowed. So I believe with the passage of time, society would grow more accommodative towards transgender rights in athleticism, which it certainly is not right now.
And Irfan Bhai, what role does media representation of transgender athlete affect all of the public's perception involved in all of the policy making in Pakistan sports sector? As obviously we are a part of the media ourselves, so how do you see, how do they influence the policy?
So first of all, I would say, because no one would know better in mass communication than you yourself. So there is a person called Edward Thorndike. He has a theory of the halo effect. He says that the halo effect means that you take one aspect of a person and then generalize it. For instance, in the blacks community, in the African American community, you saw that there was a gangster music culture. So when you took one aspect of it, then you generalized it. You thought that yes, all of them, because they listen to this music, they are all gangster criminals. This is the halo effect that the media paves the way. So I believe media right now has generalized sports to a degree that transgender news, whenever comes in front of us, is only concerned by their dancing or being involved in sexual illegal activities or something that is of an illicit social role. Their positive impact, although minimal, is never or seldom amplified. It should be amplified and magnified to the degree that the people would grow more sensitive towards it and normalize their presence in the daily lives, because transgenders themselves are not only the commodities that should be on the peripheries of a state. They should be the part of society because they are born human, and there is nothing wrong in being a transgender as a human being because they are born at it. So media should be a more facilitative instrument rather than being an instrument that only seeks to magnify the marginalization instead of amplifying their minimal contribution, if there are any.
And lastly, Fanbe, before we close this video, as we are going towards the conclusion, what policies or grassroots initiative can be introduced by the government to promote the participation of transgender individuals in Pakistan, basically at the school, college, even at the university level? What are the steps which need to be taken? What are the things which needs to be
So
done?
I would give you a very small and a rare example. Anything that is implemented in European Union, firstly is implemented in three countries. It is called Benelux Union, Benelux Union. Benelux Union means Belgium, Netherlands and Luxembourg. These three countries are called the laboratories of European Union. Every policy that is going to be institutionalized there firstly goes through it, because there is a cultural consonance. The European Union believes that if the country of these countries they found legitimacy in them, there is a huge probability that this policy is going to be successful. What I believe is that in order for government to implement any policy, because transgender rights have never been talked about in this regard, so we cannot nationalize something right now. We should inaugurate it at a smaller level, at villages level, by desensitizing their presence. If a transgender comes in front of you, there is nothing wrong or be
We
apprehensive
tend to
about.
make fun of them as well.
This is the thing, ridiculousness. When you consign them to the margin of specific activities, they might dance to earn something, or you imitate them,
Or begging for money also.
and when you use the terms hijra in a derogatory term, you call
Even
this,
khusra.
yes, khusra, you call this to someone who you think is impotent, and that is something very derogatory. But when that is institutionalized in the common culture, it burns into the memories of people and it is seldom erased. So their presence should be normalized. There should be what you call reverse discrimination, in which there should be quota systems and policies that would encourage their participation. Affirmative action कहा जाता है इस चीज को, so that they would become in front of the media industry, in front of the political roles and everything, and their presence would not be a cause for concern, but a normal activity. That is how athleticism would be promoted. You can promote and ask transgenders to come in every team. This is the initiation that would lead to a very fruitful and equality conclusion.
But Farmer, do you think that this issue has basically solved in other countries as well, or this is only a Pakistan-based issue? Because I don't think so. It has been fully recovered in even the top nations of the world, like USA or even UK. How do you see over that?
I believe it is at only the inauguratory stage, let alone being solved in its essence. The issue must be scrutinized to the degree and the levels that the legitimacy is seeped in. In the US, Donald Trump, American president, has just banned the transgender athletes to play in the female sports. Now, I do not debate or question the credibility of Trump or this action, because they are allowed to make another categorization in which they would accommodate transgenders. But my question is that this moral migration from one area to another, and being very skeptical, and there is no firm policy, there is no public consensus, because this is something new. I am not expecting the world to agree to it right now, but the world should start a discussion. The Western countries, although they are being flexible in it, they are hesitant sometimes, or sometimes going towards the policy. Sometimes they implement, sometimes they repeal, sometimes they invoke, sometimes they do not. But we are not even initiating that. So I believe the transgender community is not provided athletic rights all over the globe. But when the discussion is started, there is a glimmer of hope, the silver lining that the clouds of inequality might shed some one day.
Irfan bhai, thank you so much for your time, and we are hoping that the issues we are highlighting, they will get solved one day. And transgenders will also have a place in the sports ecosystem like other athletes. So I guess that's it for this video. Like and subscribe to Sports for more content like this. Till then, it's goodbye from me and Farb inside. Take good care of yourself. Allah.